It creeps and leaps and glides and slides across the floor right through the door. Be careful on the block. What were my parents thinking? I was 9 years old and I was on my first ever Disney World vacation. It was the perfect day at the perfect place. What could go wrong? Well, nothing. So my dad has this brilliant idea that we go eat at the sci-fi diner, where we eat lunch in an old convertible while watching old black and white science fiction clips. I watched in terror as the blob swallowed people at the local movie theater. And the worst part was when he sucked a handyman down the kitchen sink. As I raced from the movie theater with my 6-year-old brother close behind, little did I know that my sleep would be tormented by these images for a long time. And to this day, I still make sure to check the dream before taking a shower. When Paul sits down to write his last letter to the New Testament church, it was not written to a church at Rome or to a group of people in the Asia Minor. No, he writes a personal letter to his spiritual son Timothy. Paul spends his last moments on earth addressing the one giant blocking Timothy's future: fear. A fear of failure, a fear of the unknown, a fear of being too young. In the theater that day at Disney, a spirit of fear, a fear of being eaten by monsters grabbed me. But whether your fear is failure, monsters, or just a fear of being alone, Paul's words to Timothy still speak to us today. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, and of love, and of sound mind. Conquering the spirit of fear controlling you requires you to remember that. First, God's power is greater than fear. The spirit of fear attacking me today is not coming from 1950 clips in the blog. No, my fears are real and way more personal. You see, a few months ago, my mom's breast cancer returned. I don't know all the details because parents have a way of trying to protect their kids from the bad stuff. But I do know that she needed a power that only comes from God. The Greek word for power is the word from which we get our English word, dynamite. My mom really needs this dynamite power. It is a power that is greater than my fear. If we can access this power, the same power that raised Christ from the dead, then the spirit of fear will be defeated. But it's not just God's power that is greater than fear. God's love is greater than fear. God's love is greater than any fear you can imagine. When my mom's breast cancer returned, I was a little mad at God for allowing this to happen to her again. But then I heard the Holy Spirit speak to me. Josh, I love your mom way more than you do. Do you understand that God's unconditional love for us and those we care about is so much greater than the natural love we have for them? If we can't believe in God's perfect love for our future, then we will never be able to find a peace that goes beyond any human understanding. God's power is greater than fear, and God's love is greater than fear. Finally, a sound mind is greater than fear. A sound mind is a mind that is sober and full of self-control from the Holy Spirit. Have you seen a Geico commercial about the teenagers who come upon a haunted house with a man with a chainsaw? When the one girl says, "Why don't we get into the running car and drive away?" Her friends reject her advice and they go hide in the barn with the chainsaws hanging from the ceiling. The commercial's tagline: if you're in a horror movie, you make bad decisions. It's what you do. Bound by my fear after my experience at Disney, I allowed the enemy to take away my peace for months every time I tried to sleep. Fear is like drinking too much alcohol. When someone is drunk, they make bad, dangerous decisions that can affect their future for years. Shake off the spirit of fear. No more replaying the negatives. No more images of the blob monster. No more imagining all the worst case scenarios. But what about my mom's cancer? Well, the doctors have told her that they can't explain it, but that her cancer is mostly dead. And that when the enemy came in like a flood, God's power was stronger than cancer. His love was stronger than the enemy's hate. And he gave me a sound mind to conquer my fear. He can do the same for you. No fear.